No, a little bit of cloud outside, but I don't know. I don't think there'll be too much rain this afternoon. And of course, we're here with Madonna, and her guest is the lovely Linda. We're talking about stem cells, and some interesting stuff's been coming out. I mean, I've heard about stem cells, but now I'm sort of finding out what's actually behind it and what's involved. It's amazing.
Yeah, so I sort of thought I would ask Linda what her story is. So how did you get involved in this, or what were you going through that made you interested as a naturopath kinesiologist in the stem cell products?
For sure, and I guess like a lot of people who are naturopaths, we aren't automatically superwomen. For myself, I'd had quite a childhood of ill health, really driven by gluten intolerance that had turned into endometriosis and polycystic ovaries, and I think, as you know, I was medically diagnosed with mercury and copper poisoning when I was 24, just, you know, off blood tests, etc. So my body had been through quite a bit, and from a naturopathic point of view, I think we're always looking for things that are cutting edge and going to help people. People tend to be, in some ways, I don't know if we're just getting better at what we do and we keep getting harder cases, but yeah, there's a lot that the human body goes through, and the more tools we have. So there's that part of me that's always looking for the new stuff. And we really live in exciting times. There's so much being understood in biochemical nutrition and functional medicine, and real breakthroughs kind of happening. So for myself, when I first started on the products, and it was just one of those occasions where I happened to go out to lunch with a couple of therapists, and a chap had seen or heard about the original versions of the stem cell nutrition products in America and ordered some. And the original bottle had a picture of a stem cell on it and said may stimulate the migration of adult stem cells. And of course he wanted me to tell him everything I've just kind of told you in the previous section, but I didn't know that then.
Yes.
And I kind of went, I don't really know what this product's going to do, but I really feel like I should investigate it. And I certainly started taking it myself, and at that time, because I do a lot of really strong structural kinesiology like you do, kind of known as the panel beater. And,
Madam Lash is my nickname.
Okay. Yeah, well, we're into fixing things, you know. So, but I had started getting a lot of pain and inflammation in my hands and wrists, and I guess I was contemplating that part of my clinical life might have to disappear, which I didn't want it to. I really liked the variety of naturopathy and structural and kinesiology. And so I was taking at the time probably $200 or $300 a month of quite high-end liquid cartilage. Nothing was getting worse, but it wasn't getting better either. And for me, when I first started taking stem cell nutrition, and I guess invested in mobilising my own stem cells, that what I started to see was quite a turnaround in the discomfort and the inflexibility in my hands.
So it was the hands that you noticed first?
I guess for me, I first noticed quite a change in my energy as well. I suffered with a body really prone to going into inflammation, and now that I'm doing genetic profiling in my clinic, and I've had my own genetic profile done when I went to the course, and they opened up our genetic profiles, and they kind of went, well, if you've got more than 50% of these genes, orange and red, you're going to have a person who's going to be really prone to being inflamed and going into chronic fatigue. And
how many of yours?
And I nudged my chiropractic friend next to me and went, well, what happens if it's 90%?
That would put you in the munted category.
Yeah, from that point of view. So I guess quite quickly, because that algae is also very anti-inflammatory as well, that I really noticed that specifically. And the type of anti-inflammatory compound in that blue-green algae is a COX-2 inhibitor. And now that we can actually genetically test the sort of chromosomal information that we've inherited from our parents, my COX-2 pathways are munted. So hence, why I've particularly responded to that. So I had that experience in my hands. I'd had my foot operated on when I was 12, and they'd foreseen that by 25 I would need a joint replacement. I guess studying the kinesiologies and structural work and things, I'd had a lot of work on my feet. I'd got myself as well as I could, but by my early 30s I felt like my foot would seize up and give me pain, and had wondered what else I could do. And I certainly experienced sort of 7 months into assisting my own stem cells migrating an exacerbation in my foot, and then
which you also had when you were detoxing 15 years ago as well. I remember that took a long time to slowly build up, because your foot would scream in pain when it was trying to detox. So
and I think that's one of those things we were talking about microcirculation before, that often when we do get a lot of joint issues in our fingers and feet is because it's right at the end of our circulation, and hence acidic uric acid crystals and things can precipitate out, which very much is happening in gout, and why those sorts of conditions affect people right at the end of their circulation bed. Yeah, and I had quite an increase in my heart rate recovery without increasing my exercise regime. I really remembered that, and an improvement in my lung capacity, because I was testing those sorts of things back then in the clinic, and that's just a lot to do with reducing the inflammation in my own body.
Because when I started taking it, one of the things that I was noticing with the bioimpedance screenings was that my muscle quality was always because I was vegetarian for 20 years, and I could never get my muscle mass or my muscle quality high. So I was always sarcopenic obese, skinny fat, and so not enough muscle, too much fat, but the right weight. So one of the things that I noticed with the stem cell nutrition was that my muscle quality and muscle mass started to increase, which was interesting.
Yes, I remember seeing that on the bioimpedance with myself, although I wasn't sarcopenic, unfortunately. But that really improved, and it really started improved in the people I started using it with, particularly older people. And when we think about our stem cell, that's the ultimate anabolic rebuilding cell of the body. Yeah. So I know I'm doing a lot of work with muscle recovery and exercise with people, because ultimately when we're lifting weights, we're creating a breakdown in the muscle to stimulate an increase in repair, and therefore a bulking up of the muscle tissue. And of course that can be supported with increasing your migration of stem cells. So
with the stem cells, what can stem cells repair? So thinking about, if there's bone on bone, you can't repair a joint if there's bone on bone.
No, but what I have seen in people's x-rays and MRIs is that when you go into that level of joint degeneration, that also the end of the bones become quite weak, and of course stem cells can become new bone cells. Hence you get a rebuilding and remodelling, because our bone is very much alive, it has a high circulation rate, and it's rebuilding all the time as well. Okay. And then if there was to be a small amount of cartilage still left on the end bones, and the stem cells could come into that area, the cartilage, all our cells release chemical signals that tell the stem cells what type of cell to turn into.
Right.
But of course, if there's no cartilage there to give off those signals, you won't see that. So hence, particularly in New Zealand, I'm speaking to quite a few people who've gone in and had stem cell injections into their joint spaces and their knees with great results, because you're getting possibly about 15 million of your adult stem cells put into an injection and injected into the knee space, and so they're right in there available to turn into...
Are we doing that in Australia yet?
I'm pretty sure I've talked to people here. Sometimes I don't know which country I'm in.
Yeah, okay. And also things like, someone I'm thinking of, the muscle is torn away from the bone at the moment.
Right, so from that point of view, once something is in a way, it's quite broken, isn't it? Yes. It really requires surgery to be reattached. Yeah. And then, of course, post-surgery, there's going to be a different rate of healing, potential for scar tissue, etc., and all that's going to be minimised by the amount of stem cells that are actually available to that area in the healing process.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So for you personally, it sort of helped with all sorts of things like energy as well as...
Yeah, and I guess that's some of the other benefits from the product, is that it is really nutritious, it's mood enhancing. I always feel like I can cope with anything. Yeah. And that's that phenylethylamine compound that's high in that particular algae. So that's for the mood, for the... Yes, that's very specifically a mood enhancer. And for a lot of people, if they're having sleeping issues, they'll find that mood enhancement helps a regulation that then also helps them go into a better sleep cycle. So do stem cells, this will be a silly, do stem cells become hormones? No, but they help become new cells of glands that produce hormones. Right, okay, so the endocrine system, it could repair the adrenals and so I use it in my adrenal programs. I guess like you, nearly everyone you see is really adrenally fatigued. Yeah. That seems to unfortunately be getting worse and worse. I don't think cell phones and the speediness of which we're required to respond in our life, just makes it worse. Yeah. And so, as you know, in burnout, you can actually get die-off of the adrenal cells. Yeah. So using glandular extracts to help support the hormone function, herbs like licorice to increase the half-life of cortisol, but actually increasing someone's stem cell migration so that they do have stem cells available to help regenerate at a glandular level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Paul J, do you see that adrenal fatigue with people in your world? People
Yes.
who are just exhausted, who
Yep.
maybe have worked for, decades and then just stop and they're exhausted?
That's it.
Like you
yes,
do
can't
see
do
that?
much. You've got to go and have the nana nap and everything. And I think I sneak a few of those in too.
Yep.
And they're very good. They're very good. You should go and do it. But yes, I'm very aware of that happening. Yeah.
I wonder if power naps somehow allow our body to relax enough to release it. Because some people do really well with power naps and things like that.
Absolutely. So I think how that, it's a big subject,
Yeah.
how does sleep affect our detoxification, our hormone production, particularly growth hormone production by going to bed by 10 o'clock at night. That's a key thing when you're working with adrenal exhaustion. Make sure you're lying down in bed by 10 o'clock and that you stay in bed until 7 a.m.
Yeah, and I think in radio over the years, do you see people doing the night shifts and that sort of thing? Do you see them get burnt out faster than people doing day shifts? Like, is there a...
No, because they actually change their life around. If you're doing a night shift, your total day is reorganised. So no, I've never actually seen them doing that. No, they're enjoying it when they're in there.
I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are.
And I guess some of the real adrenal issues we see is just the amount of stress that people are under.
Yeah.
Be kind of financially, children, relationships, expectations that people place on themselves, and that whole sort of mix that has people's nervous system feeling like there's a tiger chasing them all the time.
Yes, we've talked about the tiger a lot, haven't we? So we might have a quick break.
Let's have a little break.
Yeah, beautiful.
And now we should all be a little bit happier with what we've heard today. The things that can make us happier. So I thought, why not play this song? It's a good one.